I began blue water game fishing off the wild coast of Tasmania in 1965, chasing southern bluefin tuna and albacore on light tackle, and that was my introduction to it all those years ago. And since then I was lucky enough to spend 14 solid years on the Great Barrier Reef, fishing something like 100, 150 days a year in various capacities on the water, anything that I could do to get myself on those boats and out to sea.
2 years ago, we set out to make a new series of trolling reels that would embody the whole romance of big game fishing. You know, that marlin jumping across the surface and the roar of the engines while you're backing down and all that water coming up over the stern of the boat, and yet include in it all the technological advancements that we've had over the last couple of years, so that the reel can be an extension of the angler, so that it's part of the whole fishing system between the captain and the angler and the fish. And we've done that in our new Tiagra series of trolling reels. We make Tiagras in 3 different sizes, the 50 and the 50W. These are, of course, for 50-pound line. And then if we have the 80W, which is for 80-pound test. And then we also make one other model, which would be the 50W LRS. It's a long-range special, and that's a 50W built with the drag curve of an 80. One of the first things that we started with in the Tiagras is to use a one-piece machine-cut frame that we hadn't done before. Previous reels that we made have used die-cast aluminum frames, but we wanted to use a machining process because that ends up being much more precise, and you're able to create a much better-looking product in the end. The machining process requires that we start from the stock of pipe aluminum and just cut around the main circle. And then we have to cut the windows out here, and all that gets done in one machine in one time. Unfortunately, though, it takes a long time to do this. It takes about 20 minutes to cut each frame. Over the years, we've made a bunch of different style lever drags with all kinds of different washers, from cotton, titanium composites to graphite washers. And the thing that we found is that the graphite washer is probably the best overall. The one problem with the graphite washer, or one difficulty encountered with it, is that the drag pressure tends to fade as the washer gets hotter. And obviously that's no good because you're fishing a given weight line and you want to have a particular drag that you set in the morning. And so what we've done is to incorporate in here a oil-filled piston. This is what we call the Shimano hydrothermal drag. And what this does is expand as the spool gets hotter to compensate for the drag loss on the graphite washer. But with the Tiagras, you can be confident that the drag that you set in the morning will be the drag that you're using to fight the fish. Here we have the click plate. This is for, obviously, the clicker. And one of the neat things we've done with this is to change the spacing of the holes all the way around the plate. This enables the clicker to generate more different frequencies while the clicker is working. And the reason why this is important is because the engine noise is fairly constant, and the noise from the reel on the clicker needs to rise above that engine noise and be heard. And why does it need to be so loud? Well, it's because the skipper, he's about 30 feet away from the action on a big boat. He's up in a fly bridge, and the reels are all down in the cockpit. And, you know, a marlin will come by and hit one of the lures. If you don't have your clicker on, or if you have a clicker that's not very loud, the only sound you'll hear is the pow, the line breaking when you've pretty much reached the end of the spool, and the marlin's pretty much gone, and you're just there, and you have to fill up another reel full of line. We've gone out of our way to make sure that we have parts for these reels available before we even introduce them to the market. We have them in stock even today as we speak. This is a feature that you can appreciate if you've loaded up a lot of these big game reels in your lifetime. The standard procedure, of course, is to pass the screws for the reel clamp through the foot before you load the line on. Our engineers came up with a little real clever solution where even with the reel full of line, you can just turn the screw 90 degrees, slip it in there, and it'll catch. And that is probably one of the coolest things that we've done. The marlin bite was good in Panama, so we went all the way down there. We carted a bunch of these reels, and 6 of the Shimano staff, myself included. and we just went and caught some fish. We fished there for a week. We caught, I think it was 6 blue marlin, a black marlin, a striped marlin, countless sailfish. It was excellent fishing, and at the same time, we were able to get a lot of really good real-time data that we'd never had before. And we could even further refine our lab tests around these conditions as well. This is a graph of the data that we were able to take while we were in Panama, where we're able to measure the speed of the fish, the amount of drag on the reel, and the amount of line that the fish has been able to pull off, and actually generate a computerized printout of all this information that we can look at afterwards when we get back.
Let me say that of all the reels I've used in the last 30 years, they're probably at the coalface of technology, the cutting edge at the moment. They're about as advanced as reels have been to date, and they perform superbly. There are a lot of superlatives I could use to describe them, but suffice it to say that somebody's done their sums well and got the answers right with this one.
You know, there's the whole traditional aspect, the lore of big game fishing, you know, Zane Grey and Ernest Hemingway and these big, huge battle wagon marlin boats. And, you know, we really wanted Tiagras to be able to fit in with that whole environment, to be designed to be an integral part of that rather than, you know, some special mechanism we use to catch fish. Rather, we want them to be an extension of the angler and the boat and be a part of the whole system so that the whole fish catching experience can be that much more fun.